Now, Arsenal remain unbeaten in the Premier League despite having a tricky run of fixtures, including trips to Aston Villa, Tottenham and Manchester City. They took 7 out of those 9 points. Mikel Arteta's side now host Leicester tomorrow. The Arsenal manager spoke to the media in the last hour. "Look, I know that they've had the EFL Cup game in the meantime, but of course, the most sort of immediate reference and the chapter in the stories about that game and Manchester City and the fallout continues." What did Mikel Arteta have to say about that? Yeah, really good afternoon. Now, as much as Mikel Arteta has tried to move on from that game, it's very hard, isn't it, when it was that dramatic, that action-packed. And on Tuesday, he did his best before the cup game to move the narrative on. But again, today he was asked about the game and in particular, his relationship with Pep Guardiola. After Pep's side progressed through to their cup game, Pep talked about the fact that the two managers had exchanged texts between them and said that whatever had happened hadn't damaged their relationship. Well, I spoke to Arteta about how difficult that is when ultimately you want a very good friend of yours to fail. First of all, because I love him, I respect him, and I admire his team and everything that he does. And this is a sport. One thing is our profession, this is our personal relationship. If my relationship has to be damaged because we play against each other and one draws and the other one wins, or the amount of time that we have lost, then I wouldn't talk to him no more. So that's not a relationship, especially a relationship that I consider that both of us have. So a sport will never get in my way in a personal relationship, for sure. I don't want to be on YouTube because we've been so silly. I want to be on YouTube because we've done the right thing in May and for the right reasons and lifting what we want to lift and achieve. In order to do that, we have to be very efficient in what we do. So I didn't predict to play 56 minutes with 10 men and we have to do that and we have to do that and we have to accept, and sometimes the opponent is better at doing something in the game. That doesn't mean that they are playing better or competing. They are being better at doing a specific thing inside the game. We are interested to do all the things that can help us to win the game. And Nolan, talking about that midweek game I mentioned in the EFL Cup, Arsenal beating Bolton, but David Raya, their keeper, was unavailable for that game. Any news if he will be available for this weekend in Leicester? Yeah, they had 16-year-old, didn't they, Jack Porter playing in goal for that game. Raya, well, he wouldn't commit either way. He's been struggling with a muscular thigh problem. You saw him go down a lot, didn't you, in that game against Manchester City last weekend? Wouldn't confirm, said he'll leave it late. They do have PSG on Tuesday night in the Champions League, so clearly they're not going to risk him. But unlike midweek, they do have other options because Neto, who they signed in the transfer window from Bournemouth, was already cup-tied during the week. So Arteta's been talking about him and what he can bring, and that is, of course, Premier League experience. So, if Raya doesn't make it, you wouldn't expect him to have a great chance of starting against Leicester at home. Other news, he was a bit more open about Yerry Mina and Ben White, both trained today, both in the squad. And Michael Morodo, the midfielder from Real Sociedad, do you remember injured in a training session, hurt his shoulder? Well, have a listen to what he says about when he might be available to play for Arsenal. He's trying to keep me in the cage because he's been pushing everybody, all the physios, the doctors, everybody. And he's ready to go, and he really wants it. I think we are comfortable now to start exposing him with contact. And he looked really good in training. He's going to be first, an unbelievable football brain. He's so intelligent. The way he decides, he occupies spaces, he makes decisions. Very rare to see that. Then a really talented player in every phase, defending, attacking. He can deliver things. He can do things that complement really well with the quality we have in midfield. Physicality for sure. And then he's a big threat. The moment he's in the opponent's box, you see that he's a big threat. It's been such a big 10 days or so for Arsenal, hasn't it? The likes of Tottenham away, Manchester City away, the Champions League squeezed in between that, the cup game with the youngsters.